AMJ friends, checking in on CGC, CRON, APHA, ACB, TLRY, the big three tier 2 names, TRST, HEXO, OGI, and then we'll wrap it up with VFF, Tgod, N, CURA, GTII, and Seaweb. So, what we're looking at is a lower high being set on CGC's daily time frame. And what we have is the high of the bull move, the low of the pullback, the lower high with the earnings reaction. And now we're pulling back and looking for a higher low compared to 41.68. Anything above 41.68 keeps the higher low intact. And pretty much we're looking at a tightening daily range. And when that happens, I sit on my hands and I say, all right, if there's a very wide range, like there was on CRON originally, all this range and volatility, absolutely, I will play within a tightening range for the first couple moves. But then once we get to a certain point where it gets so tight that the percentage moves are not as significant and it's a lot harder to play within and it's a lot choppier action, that's when I just sit back and say, all right, now I'll just wait for the break to occur and I'll trade that break. And I'm pretty much at that point on CGC, unless we pull back pretty hard and we form a clear higher low in the pretty much the 43s. If we were to get to hourly oversold while holding 41.68 support, then I would consider a bottom fishing play with that support. But otherwise, I'm just going to patiently wait until next week. Pending any news, we're likely going to see a higher low on the daily form sometime this week. And then sometime next week, we'll either lose our daily higher low or we will break the daily lower high. So it's important as a trader to know when to be patient and to let the patterns develop to give us more clarity. So CGC on the hourly, we're just looking for anything under the high of today being an hourly lower high. If the bulls show up tomorrow and they break 46.99, then we'll say, wow, that was very brief consolidation and we're heading right back up towards resistance. There was also a downgrade today, which really set the tone bearish to start the morning off with a bearish reaction on CGC down about 3%. And that translated into CRON, APHA, ACB, everybody seeing a couple percent pullback, and it really started with a lower open in the sector in response to that. And in my opinion, we'll go over VFF here in just a minute. We were anticipating a likely gap up open in VFF due to the blue sky breakout and the strong close. In my opinion, it was the CGC downgrade sucking the momentum for the bulls out of the sector before the bell even rang. But for CGC, if they break the high of today tomorrow, then we'll say, all right, higher low has already been set. And that's going to favor the bulls short term to head back up to 49.86 resistance. But if we don't, again, just looking for that consolidation to form a daily higher low. CRON continues to stand out. How many times have we said this in the last 6 months? CRON stands out as a lead bull in a very similar pattern. It's tightening on the daily, but it's much more favorable for the bulls. We have resistance of 22.05 that has to break for a high, low, lower high, higher low, break of the lower highs if we get over 22.05. If we don't, we stay in a tightening pattern and we'll look to pull back and form a higher low. Essentially, we're watching the same pattern as CGC, it's just a lot different. So we're still seeing the same consolidating tightening pattern, but we formed a clear lower high on CGC, and now we're pulling back to look for a higher low, whereas CRON is still testing its resistance, and after 22.05, the next level is all the way up at 23.96, and then the all-time high. So there's not a lot of resistance in this area if the bulls can break it. If they cannot break it, and if tomorrow we break 21.25 hourly support and 21.04, if those two levels break tomorrow, then we say, all right, that's a double top rejection of the daily 22.05 resistance, and now we're going to look for the daily higher low compared to 18.72 to remain in the tightening range. And again, same thing, we'll be looking for the break. If that takes place, we'll probably look for the break sometime next week, and the tighter the patterns get, the more clear the breaks are, the more traders react to those breaks, and the more clear of a signal it is, in my opinion. So, key test for CRON resistance tomorrow. APHA holding up pretty well, and everybody out of the major names is tightening up, and APHA not really at this point. We have the low, had the high of the bounce, our higher low formed at 890, and we did see continuation, so we shifted the daily momentum. We formed a daily inside bar today, break of 946, and we're going to be looking back at 890, and we get the bull break of 977. We're looking up at 991 and 10 psychological. We are anticipating a weekly equilibrium is likely to form on APHA, again, pending any news, but that resistance is currently still over 10% away. So we can see the bulls continue this little higher low, higher high pattern for the rest of the week, and I still believe that they will be exhausted by the time they get to that resistance and will need to pull back and consolidate. So I'm watching for the potential of our high on the weekly, the low of the pullback, which is a healthy higher low, but a lower high being set if we cannot break that 1095 resistance. But it is a bit different because we're not in that restricted tightening range as much as we are on some of these other names. ACB still has a hangover from earnings, and the reaction, we're just slowly fading down. Clearly the weakest name today out of, well, actually CGC technically was, but the last 3 days it's clearly been the weakest name out of the major names. We have the low of the pullback of 666. The high of the earnings bounce reaction was 747. And we're looking at a tightening range here. The bulls are trying to form a higher low compared to 666. And then we'll bounce and see if we tighten up with a lower high compared to 747. The hourly RSI at this point bounced from oversold at the end of the day. So if we continue bearish, it's a potential bottom fishing play with 666. So tomorrow, if we break 685, we know that that hourly RSI is going to be approaching oversold again very shortly. And that would have us lining up with an oversold bounce attempt again at that 666 level. Otherwise, we just have to change the hourly trend for our daily higher low to be established compared to that support level. And again, a tightening range would be anticipated. If we change the hourly trend while holding 666, we're going to look for a bounce and a lower high compared to 747 and a tightening range into next week. TLRY, just straight across 5 days in a row now, waiting for a clear break, and we're not getting it just yet. Earnings, the news came out today on when their earnings are. I forget what it said, but it's not this week. So we got clear resistances in the 78s to be watching, clear supports in the 75s, and we're just ping-ponging back and forth in this channel, bouncing off resistance, bouncing off support, and waiting for a clear break. And if we can't break 78.36 tomorrow, we're going to look for just another lower high to be set and to stay within this tightening range for at least a few more days. TRST, bullish news today, uplisting, heading to the NYSE. Similar news to VFF, but VFF was the NASDAQ. But obviously a clear bull break and big time follow through. This very clearly marks TRST as our lead technical bull out of the tier 2 names. We've been calling TRST, HEXO, and OGI tier 2, and TRST is now clearly a lead bull there. Daily higher low was 1016. Big surge for the bulls on the news. I traded that news. We had some members posting that news very timely, and actually it wasn't even news. It hasn't been announced yet, but it was a filing in the SEC saying that the approval for the uplisting was coming, and then it spread around Reddit and Twitter and social media. So hourly, healthy consolidation. It wasn't the ideal follow-through the bulls wanted. We saw the huge bull surge, and I ended up selling half of my position into the strength, and then I reloaded half of my position down here, and then sold that break even. And I still have a small swing position on TRST into tomorrow, looking for the hourly higher low to be established. But with how much we've pulled back from that 1191 high, that we can anticipate that unless we see big bull volume, we are likely to form a lower high compared to that level. Also have to wonder, how much momentum would be left on a reaction to a news release. If we get a news release tomorrow with clarification saying, yes, we got the uplisting for the NYSE, I would expect a little bit of buying pressure as a result from that. But again, a lot of people, we saw $20 million react in the first 30 minutes. So a lot of people know as social media spread that news around. I'd be very interested to see how much of a bull reaction we could get on a press release tomorrow morning. If we don't break 1191, it'll be an hourly equilibrium. These are the two key levels to be watching into tomorrow. HEXO also got daily continuation. So the higher low on the daily was 708. We broke resistance of 744, which was a double top, and we closed at the high of the day. So similar to TRST, but obviously the TRST news surged those bulls through their resistance levels. A weekly higher low has now been established on HEXO, and it's a potential bull flag. So the only resistance that we're looking at nearby is 787 and 794. And as long as the bulls hold 708 from here, they keep the daily uptrend in their favor, and we're going to be watching for that move, the bulls to make their move up towards those resistances. And if we break 794, we're going to look to confirm that weekly bull flag. So the tier 2 names are looking great. And we've got HEXO already listed. I believe they are on the NYSE as well. Let's double check that. Doesn't say there, but I know they got uplisted off the OTC. I believe they're on the NYSE. Either way, we got HEXO trading on a real exchange in the US. Now TRST is coming. OGI needs to get its act together. But all three of these names are looking for deals as well. We know CRON's got a deal. We know CGC's got a deal. watching for ACB and APHA, but I would say that these two names, HEXO and OGI, are some front runners for some deals as well in the sector. So strong close, hourly support for HEXO, last established down at the low of the day, 734 was a double bottom. That was a nice bottom fishing play. Let's look at that on the 5-minute time frame. Hold the low of the day and then run right back to the high of the day. Double bottom at the low and double bottom at the high. Bulls need to break 750 first thing tomorrow morning to give confidence in a break of that double top of resistance. OGI on the daily chart, gap down open, but bulls certainly bought that gap down. Have to break 767 to see a clear resistance break. So comparing it to HEXO, we broke the double top of HEXO resistance and closed at the high of the day. Here, because OGI got a bit of a late start with the gap down, a lower start, we couldn't break resistance just yet. So we have to break 767 to try and catch up, and then 8 and 815 will be the next resistance levels. Again, the weekly chart, inside bars, so not a higher low forming, not a clear higher low like we have on HEXO, but tightening ranges, trying to break. And again, same thing, psychologically speaking, the bulls want to break that resistance first thing tomorrow morning to give them the confidence in follow-through and continuation of this daily higher low now that we can have finished this significant consolidation. VFF, so we didn't get the gap up open. Again, I do believe that was due to the downgrade on CGC. That's the kind of scenario where, when you get enough experience and you see a blue sky breakout and a strong close, I can say that the most likely scenario is a gap up open. I would say it's probably 4 out of 5 times you're going to get that gap up open. And if you go back and look at historical data, I'm sure that would back it. I don't have that historical data. It's just, again, from my experience. And I can't tell you how many times in the MJ space, both in US MJ penny stocks and Canadian MJ, that blue sky breakout high of the day closes usually result. But that's why we never speak in absolutes. And I never will say we are going to gap up open or we're going to see this or that happen, because nothing is ever a guarantee. Even if it's a 95% chance of happening, it's not going to happen 5 times out of 100. So we have a daily inside bar, an hourly higher low formed, and we did break an hourly support level. So at this point, I'd be watching the 4-hour for some clarity. Higher low on the 4-hour. It's a potential 4-hour bull flag. We got news today that marked the low of consolidation. News that they are going to begin trading on the higher exchange on Thursday, I believe. Double check me on that. And that pretty much marked the bottom and got that news right away. And that was pretty much here at 3:03. The news came out, marked the low, clear shift in momentum into the end of the day. Bull volume started showing up. I exited today. Number one, the inability to see the gap up open. And number two, a triple top at the high of the day. So we had resistance here of 1106, 1107, and 1106. A triple top and then a loss of the 5-minute higher low. I was out on this support break. And that's just my short-term trading style. Knew that we were still likely to see, healthy 4-hour consolidation. But my strategy is making more money than the day before every day. I want more money in my account than yesterday, and I want the same thing tomorrow. And I do that by locking in my gains, not sitting through consolidation, and that keeps my account balanced just in an uptrend rather than seeing these big pullbacks during consolidation. It's just my strategy. It's the way that I have found to be the most successful for myself. But if swing trading works for you, you certainly don't want to be acting on 5-minute signals. But we rejected from that level right at the end of the day, so not really feeling any FOMO or anything on VFF. I'm going to be watching the hourly time frame. So if tomorrow morning, if we can't break 1119, we're going to look for an hourly lower high to be set. And here's our range, 1022 to 1119, about a 10% range within there. And if we can't break 1119 tomorrow morning, look for a rejection and a pullback to a higher low compared to 1022. If we break 1119, obviously we're blue sky breakout, best case scenario for the bulls, but that's the key resistance. Again, psychology, that's all that matters. Can we break 1119 in the first half hour of trading when we have the most volume influx and we look to set the tone for the day? If the answer is no, look for consolidation. If the answer is yes, look for traders to react to that blue sky breakout. Tgod, we knew consolidation was due. We were overextended. We're looking for a daily higher low to form because we broke the lower highs and bulls gave themselves a whole lot of space to work with. So the hourly chart changing the trend back to the bulls will indicate that the daily higher low has been established. If we break the low today, first thing tomorrow, down at 357, we're going to be looking for further pullback. And I'd be looking in the mid 340s is where the bulls want to hold that higher low. They don't want to get back any more than that. So if the higher low on the daily holds 345, let's call it, it's still extremely healthy, and we'll see if the bulls can then confirm the daily trend change with the higher high and continuation. N, shifting momentum. And this is a tightening pattern I'm watching as well, where we have our low of the pullback, high of the bounce, high of the bounce. There we go. Higher low, held support, and now we're looking at 123. And if we can't break 123, it's just a lower high, and we're going to continue trading in this tightening range. So looking at that on the daily time frame, a bit of a different view. Low and the high is on the same candlestick. Then our higher low, as we built a new support level at 98, have to break 123 and 126 to work on the gap fill. If we can't break 123 tomorrow morning, watch for the potential that we need to pull back and form a daily higher low. Key support of 110, double low in the afternoon. So if we can't break to continuation tomorrow morning and we pull back and break 110, watch for the need to form a daily higher low. Bull volume increasing is a great sign, but again, have to break 123. Otherwise, a tightening pattern is anticipated. CURA, break tomorrow. This is one to watch. Multiple daily inside bars. 992 break is bearish. That has us looking at 982 and 971. And a bull break would be 1015. And then we're looking at 1020 and 1041. So looking at it on the hourly time frame, just getting real tight with the low, high of the bounce, higher low, lower high. Bulls have to hold 987. And we are seeing a break again tomorrow, very likely to break these tightening ranges as we are extremely tight. And that's going to either dictate whether we see further weekly consolidation or the start of weekly consolidation, really, or whether the bulls can try and make their way back up towards resistance. I would say more likely than not, weekly consolidation is due. We've seen a very solid bull move since the last weekly low. We saw, almost a 50% move. So all about how that inside bar breaks tomorrow. And you want to ensure follow through. So if we break 992, but we don't break the low of the previous day, 982, we're not going to be looking for a major pullback. That's going to be a great sign for the bulls. So when you see a tight range like this, you don't only want to break the first level. That can be your signal to act on, the break of the day of today's levels, but you want to ensure that you break the previous day levels as well so you can have confidence in follow through. GTII trying to form its daily higher low after healthy consolidation and its bull break. And at this point, a daily inside bar as well, 1791 and 1769 supports. And if we break 1858, we'll say our daily higher low is clearly established, and 1870 is the next resistance after that. Remember, this is the US name that changed the weekly trend with confirmation and is now just seeing healthy daily pullback after that big time bull move. Seaweb. Here's a scenario where we broke daily support from an equilibrium, but did not get much follow through. And what happens when we get a key break of support with no follow through? The answer is you zoom out and look for a flag. So we broke support. There were two support levels at 1967 and then down at 1916, but we held the last level of 1901. So if the bulls can follow through from here and break 2030 resistance, which was our last little lower high, that's going to give us a weekly bull flag setup. This is very healthy weekly consolidation after a huge bull run. We're looking for a weekly higher low to be established, and it's all about $19. If 19 holds, the weekly bulls are going to be looking for a new all-time high in the next couple of weeks to try and confirm this pattern. If we lose 19, we're still looking for a weekly higher low, but the odds of continuation are not as high because the percentage gain needed to get back to the all-time high will be significant. So it's all about $19 on Seaweb for the rest of the week and whether or not the bulls are able to maintain that support level. So bottom line is tightening ranges. CGC, I'm patiently waiting for a break of the tightening range. CRON is likely going to break bullish first if we do get a break. If CRON can't break that and can't break 2205 and breaks its hourly support and the low of today, we'll have a tightening range on CRON to be watching. We have a tightening ACB range to be watching, looking for the higher low. APHA daily inside bar. Lots of daily inside bars to be watching tomorrow. TLRY range bound. On the hourly, it's clear to watch. TRST news. Expecting a news release from the company probably tomorrow morning. We'll see what kind of reaction we get from the bulls. Have to break 1191. Otherwise, we have an hourly equilibrium. HEXO, strong close. Bulls trying to make their way back to 794. OGI has to break 767 first thing tomorrow morning to get over that resistance. VFF, if we can't break 1119, pretty similar to TRST. If we can't break 1119, look for an hourly equilibrium. If we cannot break 1191 on TRST, look for an hourly equilibrium. Tgod, daily high or low, we're looking for that to form in the 340s ideally. N, tightening range if we are unable to break 123 resistance in the next couple days. Bulls don't have to break that level tomorrow, but have to break it this week. Otherwise, we will need another higher low on the daily. CURA, multiple daily inside bars to be watching for a tight range to break. GTI, trying for a daily inside bar bull break to give us our daily higher low clearly established and try and see continuation. And Seaweb, all about 19. That's what we got. Wrapping it up here with a beach hike, the last hike in Puerto Rico. And we had a nice guide dog. It was a stray dog who pretty much, you can tell that he does this trail every day and just waits for friends to take on the hike. And he led the way, and he would go up, 20 feet in front of us and then stop and look at us and wait for us. And he ended up running up a path straight into a cactus and, was distraught and ran into the water. And I had to pull like 25 of these long cactus spikes out of his chest and arms. So had a good time with him. Really cool hike. Love hiking on the beaches. Don't do it much, but that's that. Hope you have a good day. Hope you do good things out there. Hope you are happy, and we'll see you tomorrow.